Hey guys, welcome back to Totally Unexpected. I'm Chavie Block, your host. Super excited for today's guest. So, you're going to hear a lot about this guest on the pod itself. We go through his whole kind of life story. But this guest, his name is Dr. Cohen. He is my childhood doctor. He's a homeopath and an ER doctor. And he had such a huge influence on my life and my exposure to alternative medicine and the mind-body connection. And he was part of our community. I'm such good friends with his daughter and just a real big part of our family and our life. And I'm just so grateful to have him on the podcast, someone who is so knowledgeable and wise in this field. And I really, really think you are going to gain a lot from it. So please enjoy Dr. Cohen, an amazing homeopath and background in Western medicine as well. So it's like such a great combination. And I can't wait for you to hear it. Enjoy. If you want to sponsor, please reach out. If you're a business, if you are just somebody who wants to sponsor something for a special occasion, for a yard site, for a birthday, if you just love the podcast and love what I'm doing and you want to be a part of it, please do. Please, please do. I think it's not a secret that podcasts are funded through sponsorships and advertisements. There's no secret way to go about it. And I would love to partner with all of you and any of you. And it's great. It's fun. If you're a business, I talk about you on the pod. I post you on Instagram. You get some nice exposure. If you're just somebody who wants to shout somebody out, or you're just somebody who loves and appreciates what's going on over here on Totally Unexpected, please reach out. All my contact information is in the show notes. And we're very grateful to all our partnerships and all our sponsorships. Hi, it's so good to see you. This is so exciting.
It is.
Thank you so much for making the time.
Well, I have to say, your microphone looks very professional. You look very professional.
Thank you.
You have your headphones and that great-looking microphone. I need to learn from you how to do this. This is great.
Yeah, I'm like 9 months in, so I'm getting into the groove a little bit.
It's almost time for the baby. I think that's perfect.
Exactly. Well, you are such a special guest because you are somebody that's known me since I was 3. Is that about right?
Seems about then.
Yeah, somewhere around then.
It's so long ago. I don't know.
I know.
I think dinosaurs were still roaming the earth or something.
Yes. And so I would love to talk about that first part of how you came into our lives in San Antonio, Texas. And then we'll go from there and hear all about your wonderful expertise, which I'm excited to share with everybody.
Okay, great. So do you want me to just kind of tell the story how I got back to San Antonio?
Tell the story.
So firstly, my mother grew up in San Antonio.
Oh, I don't know if I knew that.
So she actually was born in Mexico. Many people don't realize that in the early 1900s, there was still kind of a resistance to letting Jews in to America. And so my grandfather, who was from Ukraine, I think, traveled over to Manchuria, tried to come in through Seattle, couldn't. And so like many other Jewish families, they ended up settling on the Texas-Mexico border. So if you go to many, El Paso, Del Rio, Brownsville, Laredo, you will have, maybe less now, but it's hard to say, many Jewish families that settled there and established businesses like fruit importing or clothing, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So my grandfather made that trip and settled there. And my grandmother had promised him that she would wait. She waited 6 years. Yeah, different group of people.
Yeah.
And she came by herself from Russia by boat. Didn't speak any English or anything, obviously, except Russian. And took a train from New York to Chicago down to Laredo. And there, my mother was born. She ended up in Del Rio, and Piedras Negras is this town right across the border from there. And so she and my uncle were born there. She was born in 21. He was born, I think, in 23.
Wow.
22. And then at some point, it's not clear to me exactly when, there was enough, I guess there was access to enter. The nearest real Jewish community was San Antonio. And so they came to San Antonio. So my mother grew up there. And so over the years, my father was from Maine. He was from Rockland, Maine. His family came in from Lithuania through Boston and up to Rockland. And then his father moved to Rockland. And then my father was San Antonio, as many people may not recognize, it's a very big military town, especially around World War II. And so he kind of got released from the military in San Antonio, and he went to a Jewish USO. There's an organization called USO, United Services Organization, and they provide entertainment, mixers, meeting place for all. And it was a Jewish USO. So he met my mother there.
Wow.
That's kind of the real big background story.
Yeah. So were you born in San Antonio?
Huh?
Were you born in San Antonio?
No. So after the war, my father went to pharmacy school in Austin, and that's where I was born. He's also in Boston, but he ended up back in Austin and came to San Antonio and was there for a while, but he had greater ambitions and ended up working in the pharmaceutical industry. First with Eli Lilly. They needed a Jewish salesman from Miami Beach, as you might imagine. And then as he rose up the ranks, and they made him regional director in Washington, D.C., Virginia, and Silver Spring area, Maryland. And so he moved there. And so I moved there. And then he left there. He went to Jenkintown, Pennsylvania. Anyway, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But to kind of, this is a long story, but I'll try to hone it in.
Yeah.
So I ended up, and this is part of the story of what I've learned and things. So I went to medical school in Dallas, at Southwestern Medical School, and started out, I was always enamored with psychiatry and the mind. I mean, even in high school, I had competed in the city of Philadelphia for a special kind of summer program at the Hahnemann Hospital, which was somewhat interesting, as you come to understand where homeopathy started from. Was Hahnemann.
Hahnemann,
This was a traditional medical hospital, and so I had a summer program there. And my father always said I was going to be a doctor.
Yeah.
It was in those days, I guess. So I ended up in psychiatry. I owed the government some time. I was a scholarship student, so I had joined the Indian Health Service. And so I was in those days, they had kind of a rotating first year where you would do medicine, and then you do for 4 months, and then you'd have 8 months of whatever it was in psychiatry. But I didn't feel like completing my residency. I'm a child of the 60s.
Yeah.
So we had a whole different perspective on things. The earth, connecting to the earth. It was kind of the age of Aquarius. For those of you who have no idea what that is, watch the play Hair and you'll get it. You know what I mean? That's kind of the age of Aquarius.
Yes.
So it was the Vietnam War, blah, 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 all these things. But it was a whole different, there were many other chemicals people were using to kind of expand their consciousness.
Totally.
I certainly participated in that part of that culture. And I saw the world, and I sort of recognized that everything was connected. And that traditional medicine just somehow, though I was definitely, somewhat a surgeon, emergency room doctor at heart, even as I started medical school, as I went through, I decided, and for other circumstances, I would do a year of psychiatric residency or more, and then go in to the Indian Health Service. I owed them 2 years of time because they paid for me to go to medical school. And so I did a year of it and said, this is not for me. And I went and did my 2 years with the Indian Health Service. I worked on the Navajo Reservation for a year up in Crown Point, New Mexico. And then I
I
did a
remember
year.
as a child hearing stories
Right.
from this time.
This time,
So
right?
good.
It's all good. It's there's many stories we can talk about. And then I did a year on the Cherokee Reservation in North Carolina. Yeah, just doing general medicine and things. And I decided I couldn't go back to my residency. At that time, I had been in touch with an organization called the Himalayan Institute. And the Himalayan Institute was established by a yogi who had been studying at the Menninger Institute. So he had established skills of being able to, like biofeedback. It was his skill sets that established the possibilities of biofeedback. And there's an interesting book called Yogi about his time at the Menninger Institute, being studied by the scientists there. Or Swami, it's called Swami. I'm sorry, it's called Swami. And he definitely had learned some deep meditative skills. And he assembled around him a team of doctors and PhD psychologists. And they had set up a formal institute and classes, whatever. And they had and they moved to the Poconos, and they had purchased an old Jesuit monastery. And they there set up a book publishing research lab. I was sort of the director of the lab. And then also weekend seminars and residential treatment programs, integrating yoga and homeopathy and nutrition and meditation and
Wow.
biofeedback into a whole program. Because at that time, this is 1979, there was really no reputable place that gave a whole perspective on how to think about healing and spirituality and using tools like that. And so
Wow.
this was the place I went. I mean, like I said, they had two physicians, a cardiologist and a psychiatrist, and then they had like 4 or 5 PhD psychologists. And then we also established an accredited master's level degree program in holistic and Eastern studies. So I taught the master's program. Just a little slight diversion, just so you get to know a little bit about me.
Yeah.
I had been working ER before I went up there. I
Right.
came back from my travel. After I was in the Indian Health Service, I didn't go back. I got a Volkswagen camper, of course. In
Yeah.
those days, I had to do it right.
Got
And
to
I had
do
a
it.
stove, everything. And I traveled from North Carolina down to the tip of Baja, up to the Canadian Rockies, and then back to Arizona, and then back to San Antonio. That was about 15 months on the road. I got into photography and really felt the nature. I was outside every day, all day. I mean, my
Yeah.
pattern was to never drive over 45 miles an hour and be wherever I was going to be by 4 o'clock in the afternoon every day, and just watch the sunset and build a fire and make dinner. And that was pretty much my day every day. Anyway, I'll give you an idea. So one gets to be cleaned out.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent a lot of time, I was all by myself.
Yeah.
When I was living on the beach in Baja, I got to a place that was this little, I tell this story because it's representative of what a person might try to understand when they hear things like be present totally.
Yes. You hear
And
that
so
all the time.
how do we know what that looks like?
Yes.
And every day should be new. Now, what does that look like? So I can tell you
Yeah.
that I live on this beach, and I've been traveling for a while on the beach. And there was a strip of shells on the beach. And what I can tell you, every morning I went out and looked at those shells, and for me, they were all new. They were the same shell.
Mm-hmm.
I still have them right here.
Wow.
So like every day I was just totally in a new day. And whatever was there, I didn't. So that just gives you an idea of I just got clean, and that allowed me then to continue traveling,
Mm-hmm.
and contemplate what was I going to do. Was I going to go back to my residency, or was I going to go to the institute? I was getting their newsletters, and every time I read their newsletters, I went, "Yeah, that's me."
Mm-hmm.
And so I did fill-in work because I had worked with a Navajo reservation, and every now and I had saved up money and was traveling with them, but every now and then I'd earn a little bit of money. In those days, $300, I could live on a road for a month for $300.
Wow.
Gas was like 75 cents a gallon, and even that was expensive. Anyway,
Yeah.
so it was my birthday. I think it was my 29th birthday. Yeah. And I was back at the Navajo reservation where I'd worked, and I was out kind of contemplating. I was sitting in my van. It's a worthwhile story, actually, just to give you an idea how my life works.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting weekend. Kind of worked there because there were people I'd worked there with, and they were back. It was kind of a closure time for a whole bunch of issues of things that occurred. So I was sitting in my van out in the quiet, out in the middle of northern New Mexico, and I got to a place what I'll call bedrock decision making.
Mm.
Remember, I was now living in the moment kind of consciousness.
Yep.
And I was just sitting in my van in the dark, in the quiet, just thinking about, am I going to go to my residency or am I going to go to the Institute? And so I decided I'm going to the Institute. And as soon as I did that, this sort of door closed, and I was no ambivalence, no questioning.
You were sure.
This was my path.
Yes.
So the next morning, we're doing rounds in this old Indian hospital. And I was talking to one of the guys who was sort of into this with me, kind of stuff, that notion. And I never saw TV. I had no TV. And we're walking down the hall, and they had a little men's group room and a women's group room. Anyway, and up on the closet was a TV. And the next morning, after this bedrock assurity of no ambivalence, your mind goes, I don't know, really, you know how that goes. And I looked up at the TV, and there, filling the TV screen, was a man, Swami Rama, who was the yogi who was in charge of the Himalayan Institute, where I decided I was going. They were all being interviewed on there's a show called The Donahue Show at that time. I looked up and I went,
there it is.
Okay, I'm going.
I'm going.
And then I just traveled for another number of months. But my path had been set.
Yeah.
And so I came back to San Antonio, kind of said hello to my parents, and then I moved up to Pennsylvania, worked at the Institute, met my wife and the mother of our children. But for a number of reasons, it was time to move back to Chicago, where the original center was. There was another actually Jewish guy there. And I wasn't that connected to Judaism at that time. I, Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, have some matzah kind of guy, visit the fam on holidays or go to shul. That was about it. I was into yoga. Mm-hmm. Very spiritual practice, actually.
It is. I'm 100% in agreement about that.
And what people don't know, that it's all about internal stuff. It's about looking within and doing inner transformation. But Judaism, I never saw that in Judaism. It was American conservative Judaism. It was not bad about that. Yeah. So I was working at the Institute in Chicago, Glenview, actually, it's a suburb of Chicago. The guy I was with was also a Jewish fellow who I just saw him in Israel, actually.
No way.
2 weeks ago. He had to be there at the same time. So we've been friends for 40-something years. So he said, listen, you ought to come to this weekly class on the Parsha. You really ought to come. Okay, I'll go. It just so happened that this is a long way of telling you how I got to San Antonio.
I love it.
So the man who was teaching this Parsha Shavuot was a man his name was Paul Rocca, and he was chairman of the Department of Physics at the University of Chicago at Circle. Very learned man. He was Algerian, so he had a French accent, and they learned Kabbalah quite early, as opposed to the Ashkenazim. You got to be 40 years old and gray-haired and whatever. They don't. They get it from a youth. And he was teaching. This is also a great story, by the way. He was teaching. So I decided, all right, I'm going to park my bottom. He was in the basement of a house in Skokie, and he sat in a card table. He was behind the, and I sat right in front of the card table. I probably was 6 feet from him, maybe. And I just said,
all right, here I am.
Let's see show me what you got, big boy. So anyway, he started talking. It happened to be the Parsha where the angels visit Abraham and tell him about the future that will come. And he presented this at that time and said that apparently they had to get Sarah to invite the guests. That one of the reasons she couldn't get pregnant was because she was doing this. And they had her open up to do this so the soul could find its entry. That was the way he presented it. And I went, well, there it is. Judaism has this whole issue of inner transformation of the soul.
Yes.
Okay. As a sidebar. And so we continued on. He and I became friends. We almost went to business together. It was a whole gig in Chicago.
Yeah.
But about 2 weeks later, the doctor who I was working with at the clinic, he had his good friend, and she couldn't get pregnant. And I knew their schedule. keto twice or 3 times a week. They were yuppies, they were just kind of doing their thing. And so based upon this talk that I went to, I said to her, this is what I want you to do. You can only go out 2 nights a week for anything. And every day, I want you to sit in the bedroom where your baby's going to be. I want you to sit in a chair. And I want you to think about how you're going to decorate and make space for this baby.
Wow.
She got pregnant within a month.
Wow.
So I got into it, and there were some other issues in my life I'm not going to go into right now, but I needed to get some rectification done. Because I thought I was a Cohen. My last name is Cohen, but I learned certain facts along the way that didn't mean much until we got to who can a Cohen marry and who can a Cohen not marry. My father married someone who halachically would have caused him not to be able to serve in the temple. So I had an issue. What do I do? So at this time, I already knew I was moving. And I won't go too much into this, but I went to a bunch of rabbis in Chicago and no one would touch it. It's a big spiritual decision. Either, because my mother didn't remember getting a get. Her father handled it. So it's a long, interesting story. But ultimately, as everything happens for a reason, there was a very well-known scholarly dayan moving to Chicago to take over the Chicago Orthodox Beit Din, a guy named Gedalia Schwartz. For those who know, he's a known man. He may have retired. I don't know if he's alive even, because it was quite a while ago. But he said, I'll take it on. He was the guy. He was the only guy. But I had called your dad because I was moving down. And I sort of, Chabad, they were doing this crazy stuff, in the streets with things and rapping. I don't know, Chabad, kind of crazy.
Weirdos.
And or some people said a cult. That was one of the that's a famous story actually in San Antonio. But he said, I told your dad, listen, I need you to make this decision. Your dad said, I think we should get that taken care of up there.
Figure that out before you come here.
Yeah, I don't think that's above my pay grade. I think was basically what he said. And it did. We all got straightened out, and I moved to San Antonio. So I wasn't sure. I knew the Orthodox rabbi peripherally because I'd been coming to San Antonio over the years. And so it was a question of where we were going to go. My wife, at that time, had only been converted Reform when we got married. My father couldn't come to the wedding because of health issues, and so she was already pregnant. We got pregnant on our honeymoon. So we came down to San Antonio, and she went to the mikveh with the conservative synagogue. But of course, we had some further work to do. So your father got involved. We got involved with him, and she got converted. But at the time, we didn't know where we were going to go. So we moved a bit closer to the other Orthodox synagogue. Your dad had just moved up on Blanco.
Yeah.
But your dad and I had a particular vibe together. And so I think that just was meant to be.
Yeah.
And so we walked the 2.5 miles every Shabbos.
I remember doing that walk sometimes with you guys.
Oh, yeah. It was on Yontiv with
in the
dogs.
summer? Oh, Hashem.
I would walk back and forth and back. I would walk over. I would walk there, walk back, and then walk back again 2 days in a row. It was 98 degrees and that stupid sign up. You walk by that sign over there.
The weather tells you the weather.
99 degrees out. Anyway.
It was such a walk.
It was brutal. But anyway, so, those were the years when it was sometimes just you and your father. Me and your father. And occasionally Yuval Kriegel there, but a lot of times it's you and your father. And when we had that first Rosh Hashanah, and I sort of became de facto Gabbai because it was nobody else to do it.
And nobody else is there.
And your dad did everything. I mean, he ran he davened every service, leaned all the portions and the Haftorah.
Yep.
And he and I just learned signals about, when to get this and do that. So we did that for quite a while. And eventually we got Shabbos minions, although sometimes we had the famous Chabad 9. It was always a joke. We'd hit the street, and trying to go down to
the
dojo, or down Cadillac or whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't always successful. And then when my mother passed, may she rest in peace, I really decided I'm going to make minions 3 times a day, and so we got our list, and we made it happen, and that was the beginning of the daily minions in my mother's honor. we established all of those, and kind of pretty much ever since then. That was 84.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then, of course, the various movements. We added onto that room, the social room, and Dara was the first. My daughter Dara, with whom you're quite.
Yeah, so me and Dara are the same age, and we're
That's right.
friends for life. Like, it's that type of friendship that, like, is sisters, like we grew up together. So no matter where you are in the world, and even if you don't speak for a little while, like the second you see each other, it's
time doesn't
automatic kinship.
Exactly. So it was great. We had all the great Shabbos parties there, and all so many memories.
So many
Cholents and the Othello games and the chesses, all the people playing, and all the kids over there. It was great. There's so many memories of people staying over there and for all the yuntas and the holidays, and your mother, unbelievably what she put out of that funky little kitchen in that house. Unbelievable. Fed hundreds of people.
Yeah.
It was a remarkable time. And of course, finally I think God kept the place together.
Till the last.
Literally rain seeping down through the roof into the building, into where we were, until we finally tore it down. It was great. Anyway.
But you were part of our lives in so many ways because the friendship and the community and all of that. But then also you were really our doctor.
Yeah. You honored me with that position. You did.
And it's very cool because we were exposed, I think at that time, which wasn't as common, but we were exposed through youth, through homeopathy, through an alternative way of living and healing. And my mother, we always joke, right? She can be a homeopath almost without the degree, right?
Dr. Block all the time. That's what
I mean, but she learned everything, all of that from you. And I am so grateful to have had that exposure and to have had that lifestyle and like my parents or my mother mainly who exposed us to this way of health and living because first of all, it's so empowering and it's ingrained in me from such a young age that there are many ways to heal your body and it doesn't have to be antibiotics. You don't have to run to the doctor every second you aren't feeling good. You have some like agency, you have some autonomy. And what is the most fascinating about homeopathy, which I think ties in so well with you loving psychology, is that, right? Like every remedy has, like, I just remember so clearly, like I would go to you for like a headache or something and you'd be like, what are your fears? Right? Or be like, because I always had a fear of thunderstorms, right? Or you'd ask me like very deep psychological questions for a physical ailment. And it was so important because it would matter how you would be treated. And until this day, I walk around I have my little remedy kit that I don't go anywhere without. And I'm not, sometimes I think like remedies in homeopathy are a little bit elusive.
Yes.
To understand, which is what I would love for you to talk about. So sometimes you nail it and sometimes you don't. And I think with remedies, you either nail it or you don't, right? It's either the right one or not. But I have, even in my later years, even more like leaned into trying to understand the remedies and also so much of it is your intuition, right? Sometimes I'm like, I'm just feeling like I need Nux. Nux is a good one, right? It's just like, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I've hit it too hard. I'm like bottomed out, right? And once you like understand more, you can start to like feel into the intuition of it.
All right.
So basically through all our childhood, you were there. Earaches and stomach aches and headaches. We had a pediatrician and there were times when even you were like, okay, you have strep, like we got to take care of this. But it wasn't our first, it was always like our go-to first and foremost, Dr. Cohen, like, and that's how we grew up.
It's true. Let me ask you a question, if I may. So having gone through the experience of having me ask you questions like that, do you think it facilitated the self-knowledge road?
Yeah, 100%. I don't know if at the time in like my younger years, I understood. Yeah. But I think it was exposure and training to what we call now like functional medicine, where we talk about like our body and our emotions and everything is a system that works together. It's not, nothing happens in a vacuum, right?
Correct.
It's not like this one little symptom and then you treat this symptom and that's it. It's like, okay, well, what's at the bottom? What's at the root? It really, I think if I look back, it was my exposure to digging deeper. It's not about what's happening at the surface. It's about what's underneath what's going on. And sometimes, we would get there and sometimes we wouldn't. But it definitely has trained me. And I think because I was exposed to it so young, like I don't really know another way. Like I don't.
Well, once you see the light, it's hard to go back to the
Yeah.
darkness, isn't it? Right.
Right. You can't unsee, like you can't just say,
can't
well, you
unsee.
can't unsee it. You don't, like you have a headache or a stomach ache and we're going to pop a couple Advil and treat the pain and you'll be fine.
Which is okay now and then, absolutely.
Oh, 100%. And trust me, I've done my fair share of Advil because you got to function or you've got to like move, but I always know when I'm taking the Advil that there's more to this story, right? There's
absolutely.
more to the story of why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. And you were talking about all the different ways
modalities,
that you were supporting your health. And it's fascinating to me that this was in like 1979. And we think, wow, like this is all new, but really really it's all ancient. When we go back to homeopathy and Chinese medicine and Ayurveda and all that stuff, it's all at the core of from the beginning of time.
Right. It's, prior to technology, people had to think and observe. And interestingly, and this, I'll share a little background to American medicine and the origins of its starting position. But where we start from in terms of how we view the world will determine how we look and how we interpret. So let's take a couple of examples. So the Western models, in large part because of the Christian church and the separation between mind and body, they decided the church was going to handle the spirit and you guys can have the body.
Wow.
So there was this, it's worthwhile reading about the history of Western medicine. There's a great series by a guy named Harris Coulter. And it's a 4 or 5 volume set. But anyway, one of the volumes is about homeopathy. So in America, and I want to share another little aspect, which will connect into homeopathy and other things as well. And that is, there's a psycho-spiritual position of people and cultures. And from my perspective now, all of mankind, I think God has put into place a hierarchy, and depending on the perspectives, and again, we have the Jewish, which has all this, but there's also the other ones that have other things as well. A model to recognize that there's a progression from survival to enlightenment. Make it pretty simple. And the more we are connected to, we'll call it the higher centers, the less we're going to be pulled by, in Judaism, we can call it the animal soul.
Yeah.
Right? Or from the yoga chakra position, you can talk about the lower chakras, survival, procreation, power, and mastery, and stuff like that. Until you get to the heart. It's interesting, we'll talk about the heart in a minute. So Western religious practice was mired in the ego. So therefore, the notion of being the master of the world and being more powerful in the world became kind of this third chakra, if people want to read about it and learn about power, mastery, and control. And so that ideology then, in America, in the late 1700s, there's a very, very famous physician who was at the University of Pennsylvania, whose name escapes me at the moment. But they basically believed that nature was not capable of curing, that mankind had to discover ways to be stronger than nature or intervene in nature for healing. So therefore, they would treat people with mercury and all this stuff, and they would poison them. But the idea was that nature was a problem. We had to interfere. So what kinds of things do we have? We have anti-inflammatories. We have antibiotics. Just the whole psychological position of interfering with that process. That's
It's
from,
mind-blowing.
but if you can see that, at least from my
Yes.
perspective, that this stems right back from Western religious times, from Europe and stuff, from the Catholic Christian Church, and how they just were all about themselves as opposed to really about God. Right.
Right. And what you said about the separation, it was like a deliberate separation of
Oh, they did
mind
it on
and
purpose.
body.
That's right.
And now we're trying to like undo that and fuse it back together. But I mean, just to think about how this all started.
Right. And as tools allowed people to see into things like the microscope,
Right.
they were able to see. And then we get a more mechanistic appreciation and to incredible levels. I have to say, I mean, that the discovery and understanding of biochemical and cellular and mitochondrial pathways is mind-boggling. So I do not turn my back
Yeah.
on any of it. We get to functional medicine. That's where functional medicine has taken all that and now using it in a new,
Right.
in a more complete manner. But getting back to that.
Yeah.
But in the Eastern traditions, Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, they they just saw that our energies, we are made up of all the energies of the world. It's all one.
Mhm.
And that we can see how those energies are, and we can see them in people. There are
Totally.
fiery people, there are rock people, there are watery people,
The airy.
there's airy people. So
Yeah.
that's all there.
Yeah.
And once one begins to see that things as flows of qualities of energy, and that the goal is to get things in balance, and that
Yes.
implies a lot of things. Not just that if you're too fiery, we have to cool you down. And we can talk about ulcers as an example of that if we want to get into that. But it's also creating a state of being of balance. What does that mean? That means that sometimes I have to be a little more fiery. Sometimes I need a little more water.
Right.
But I'm operating from a position that's not fixed. I flow and I keep my balance.
Right.
And
Like you can
so
bend, you can
I
move.
bend, move, call upon things because digestion's fire, but it's also water. There's a fire phase and a water phase. And you can look at that. There's a whole bunch of stuff and look at the flows of prana and all that, a fire channel, a water channel. And we can see that in nasal cycles, our nose opens and closes. And we can look at the brain, its brainwave shifts from side to side. People don't realize how much is already known, but not out there in the world because what do you do with, what do people do with that information? Well, whatever.
Right.
So, right, but it's there.
I guess that is a question I have. Like, what causes people to reject it so viscerally? Why do people prefer like Western?
Well, wait. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to
Okay.
tell you what it was at your house, the old house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the rabbis said, why can't the medical profession accept homeopathy?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you why, but I said, Rabbi, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Let's just say we found Mount Sinai. Everybody corroborated. All the rabbis, yeah, that's it. And they climb up their helicopters. And we get up there and we see these gigantic machines and speaker-like assemblies, and cords, electrical kind of cords that are as big as sewer pipes, and this giant parabolic device aimed into outer space. I said, would that shake your belief that God spoke at Mount Sinai? He said, no. I said, exactly. We can be, and I'm not saying that's all there. Please, I'm not here to step on that parade. I'm simply saying that we root ourselves in something that gives us a sense of solidness, boundaries, operational reality, all of that stuff, depending on what chakra and where we are in our psyche, how much we need all of that. I don't need a lot of that, so my brain can go out into outer space, right? Some people, I'm at those people, black and white, that's it, I don't care. And even times in our life, we can get that way.
Right.
You and I have had our moments, right? We've had some discussions, right? Because
That's part of our history.
Part of our history.
We get into it.
We get into it. But the point was that, for whatever reasons, each of us had our position, what we believed, and it was,
Yeah.
Go ahead. You want a little piece of me? Fine. We'll get it, right? You talking to me? But so the point is, depending on where we are in our lives and who we are and our age and what we've gone through and maturation of the brain and whatever the emotional issues are that we're dealing with and how we deal with them, we will then resonate with whatever. It's not bad or good. Just good to know what we're doing and why we're choosing it, to understand, maybe there's good and bad everywhere. We should kind of think about it.
So before we even get too much further in the conversation, I would like to describe homeopathy in a concise way. So somebody who's not, let's say, exposed to homeopathy, what is homeopathy?
Let me do a Hillel moment, right? Stand on one foot and get one open.
Exactly. Hillel moment about homeopathy. It's hard, huh?
10 doors open. I'm trying to figure out which door.
I know. Which one are we going
Which one am I going to go through here? Homeopathy is the science of taking the unique, energetic template, for those who understand what a template means, of anything in the world, and taking that and purifying it so it's that pure energetic energy, that vibration, whatever you want to think about it. And then being able to accurately see where the biological energy, could be a plant, could be an animal, could be a person, what's the template they're vibrating at, and they're stuck. Because when you're sick, you're trying to get well. We're never sick, we're trying to get well, but we get stuck. So there's a little roadblock in there. So homeopathy recognizes, well, that's the quality of the roadblock. This substance has that quality about it. Let me put those two together, and this can facilitate this getting unstuck and moving on. So homeopathy, that's why it's got like cures like. It's the principle of homeopathy. Let me give you kind of an example that can kind of exemplify that.
Okay.
You're in the kitchen you're a young kid, and you're trying to open up the jar. And I'm watching you. And you're stuck. And I say, why don't you get a hammer? And you go, you nitwit, to me. A hammer break the thing. Oh, you're right. That doesn't work. How about you get this thing that fits on top and you can hold the jar and turn it? Oh, yeah. Or you come and you're thinking about something and you just can't figure it out. And I listen to you and I can hear where that little point is where your thinking is stuck. If I give you the proper suggestion that doesn't trigger your defenses,
that's the key, right?
Well, that's also in homeopathy. That's why you refine it to remove all the extraneous stuff. So you get a clean message. And I tell you this little suggestion, and you go, that's it. That's it. You couldn't get there because of your whatever didn't let you. I just gave you a suggestion, but it opened up the entire thing. You get off and discover that, take over the world. So the point is, what did I give you? What's a suggestion? So homeopathy is kind of more on the energetic plane. Give your system the right suggestion that resonates
to let go
with it, and it can get unstuck and move past. And with any good luck, it will no longer, because it created it. The thing is, we create the obstruction.
Right.
So you have to get to the creator.
Right.
So if you get down deep enough, you can really help undo the creator. Because you can just treat, even homeopathy can be superficial.
Superficial. Yeah, totally. Right?
But if you get down to who is creating that thing and help that get unstuck, all of a sudden you see the world differently. For example, if you read the mind part, Remedies, when you read about Remedies, they have because great minds have put this together. We stand on the ladders on their shoulders. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I can recommend a good book to you. You might want to get.
I would love a good book.
If I have it, let me hold on a second. I'm going to get it off the shelf.
Okay.
It's called Homeopathic Psychology
Ooh.
by Philip Bailey, Bailey. Blow your mind.
Well, I'm
He's
excited.
really gotten into the remedies, the psyche. So what homeopathy does is it works from the inside to help your system kind of do what it needs to do.
Work with itself, right? It's like using your own system.
It's using your energy. He
Yeah.
calls Hahnemann, who was the man who elucidated homeopathy, called the vital force. In yoga, they might call it prana. Chinese system might call it chi.
Mhm.
It just depends, but the energy of it.
Yeah.
And you can see it's interesting, and there's different aspects even now in homeopathy. There's classical homeopathy, which I learned. There are other things, different ways to get at the gig, you know. But
Yeah.
fundamentally, that's what happens. Now, from a more nutritional point of view, if for various reasons the energy factories of your cells, which are called the
Mitochondria.
that's
I
right,
knew that.
if they get depleted, and there's lots of reasons why they get depleted,
Yes.
then you can't generate the energy you need for that cell to do what it needs to do. Now, what if that's a heart cell? Well, it can't generate the energy to pump the heart, so you can get into heart failure. But if I give you the nutrients the mitochondria need to do their work,
Right. Yeah, I was reading this book lately. I forget what it's called. Maybe it was called Good Energy. Does that sound familiar?
there's a lot
But
of them out
basically,
there now.
yeah, there's so many books, but
Mitochondria is like
it's
top
like
level discussion right now.
exactly like everything boils down to, I
To
think it
the
was
mitochondria.
especially about cancer or whatever. It's like mitochondria. Like you've got to keep your mitochondria working,
Nourished.
healthy, nourished, and
There's a bunch of steps. There's a bunch of steps, and they've
food, the
elucidated
food that
all
you
these
eat.
nutrients that
Yeah.
fit in all these little steps, and all the steps in the mitochondria. So, just for the sake, could we have a moment? I guess I'll do it.
Yeah.
So, where does the energy come from that you use to make you?
Where does the energy come from that I use to make you?
To make you. Each of us uses to make us. Where does the energy come from?
From God.
Yeah, come on. Yes, fine. Let's
From
put that. Let's put
our
that
own.
right over here for a minute. Yes, fine.
That was a cop out answer.
That was a cop-out answer, right?
From our own.
Clock's ticking. Where
I'm
does the
feeling pressured.
good? Where
Um,
I want you to think.
yeah.
Where does the energy come that we use to make us at a cellular level? Where does it come from?
From the earth. From us. From the sky.
The sun.
I went the opposite way.
You did.
I
Well,
went
that's
down
okay.
below.
Well, it has to get to the earth. We'll talk about that. So
Okay.
it gets sent down. Little electrons, photons.
I mean, yeah. Sun is. I mean,
Wait. We got a few steps here.
Okay.
Now, can we just stand there and soak it up and make us? Can we?
I don't think so.
Right. What organism on the planet can?
Make itself.
Lay out there, sun shines, and they make themselves. What do we know on the planet that does that?
Oh my gosh.
Chavie.
Make itself?
Yeah. What can just soak up the sun and make itself?
Plants.
Right. So the plants have these little things in the little cells, right? That takes a little photon jobbies.
Yeah.
Right? Chloroplasts. You remember that biology stuff, right? And they suck up minerals and things, and they put it together to make them. Now, how do we get that energy to us?
We eat the plants.
Or we eat something that eats the plant. Both. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So what do we have to? So we chew it.
Yeah.
And we get it, and it goes in this tube. That's not us. It's a tube through us. This is important because, well, when you talk about immigration, we're talking about the same thing right now. This is what we're about to talk about from a biological perspective. I have a whole thesis to help people understand the nature of everything through what God gave us, right? planet and the body. Anyway, that's it.
Yeah.
So we chew it, and we have little things that break it down to little teensy weensy. You know, I love, I like to do drama. Teensy
Yes.
weensy little things, right? Little molecules.
Honestly, I wish this was video so everybody could see.
Right. And then we have mechanisms in the lining of our intestines
Yes.
to bring this stuff in. Then it gets carried to every cell.
It's quite unbelievable.
And then we're still not there yet.
Right.
Because these are little atoms stuck together as little molecules. Now, where's the energy of the sun in these little molecules? What part of these molecules contains that little energy from the sun that we have to get and use?
The mitochondria.
No. That's what does the work of getting the energy.
Okay.
But where is the energy? So, not everybody knows biology and chemistry. I'm not expecting this of you. But if you look at a chemical molecule, there's just like a C and a C and a C, and these lines connect them, right?
Yeah.
We call those the chemical bonds, right? Those bonds are where the energy is. The plants join all that by putting those electrons and putting the carbon with the carbon. They make it. We take it. We have to break it apart. But if we just willy-nilly broke all those bonds apart, what would happen? Nuclear explosion. That's what an atom bomb is. You just release all this energy all of a sudden. Or you catch on fire. There are people who have spontaneous combustion, right? Their bodies catch on fire. But here's the thing. So we have to take these little molecules, bring them into the cell.
Yeah.
Get down to the mitochondria. In a very controlled and stepwise manner, we break them apart. We have little things called ATP. You may have heard this word ATP that carries that little electron, so it can move it around and take it over to the area in the mitochondria that starts the machinery to put things together, just like the plant. So our plant that puts it together is in the mitochondria, and we make us.
Yes.
Eyes make eyes, skin makes skin, bones make bone. They just have their little programming, right? So, in order to be able to do this transformation, to extract the energy from what we eat, the mitochondria have to have all their little things to do that work. And that's a whole, and they've discovered that's what's incredible. So you can get supplements now that have the entire array of all the little things that fit in the mitochondria in ways that work.
Yeah.
And then you get genetics. Some of us can't do some little transformations. So over time, we build up problems. That's because of genetics. They've discovered that. So now they have the forms of these vitamins and things that bypass a number of steps, because those steps we can't do, and just inserts it right where it's supposed to go, like folic acid, for example. Have I made this clear? Was this clear enough, do you think?
Yes. And
isn't it fascinating?
Fascinating. And what I'm also hearing from what you're saying is that it also really matters what you eat.
100%.
To actually facilitate our health. And I think that's really hard nowadays because we have so many food that's not at the right quality. And so we eat so much packaged foods, but
it's tainted with heavy metals. There's all kinds of problems out there.
And what I've noticed over my years and growing and learning and maturing is that when you find a path that's outside of Western medicine, again, we're not saying we put our back on Western medicine, but you're finding other paths and you have homeopathy or you're into Ayurveda, which I'm sort of into right now, or Chinese medicine and acupuncture, or any type of energetic healing that's physical and energetic, you automatically start to look at what you're putting in your body.
Right.
Isn't that, it's like a very kind of common trajectory, is that once you start to peel back the layers of what it actually means to be you, to grow, to be healthy, to be aligned, right? To be what you said, balanced, right? Those things take a lot of energy. It's like that give and take, that energy work, and that also what we put in is what we get out. And it's like this kind of beautiful symbiotic experience. And I think getting there starts with peeling away the layer of like, what is underneath it all?
And paying attention to yourself.
And paying attention.
For example, coffee.
Yeah.
Caffeine. Some people who are easily excitable, their nervous system's like that, and they drink coffee. Well, you should pay attention to it. Because what happens, if I want to see clearly, I want to be able to see and feel and connect, but my system's revved up, it's harder.
Yeah. Anxiety and just all this
everything's
nervous energy.
Everything's cranked up, right?
Yeah.
So the systems that look to balance us, take a look at, for example, in Ayurveda, you have the doshas, and you have the way that the doshas connect to the gut and to the nervous system and to the lungs and all this sort of stuff. Right.
Yeah.
So even, I used to tell people when you have ulcers in the stomach, that's generally a fire disorder. Things are burning up.
Yeah.
Right? So, but if you're looking at it from a multifactorial approach,
yeah.
So certainly eating fire foods wouldn't be in your interest. Garlic, onions, you can look them up. They're the fire foods, ginger, spicy stuff. You want cooling, balancing food. Ghee, for example, the ultimate fire. For those who don't know, ghee is clarified butter. You gotta be careful, obviously, for religious things, but there's no butter, but there is, if you know what I mean. Right. But it's also, there are ideas that are inflammatory.
Yes.
So if you want to cool your system down, if you're a fiery person,
nobody in this.
Yeah, we don't know.
Nobody here. We don't know about that.
We don't have that. We don't have to worry about that. Exactly. So then one might want to be reading things that are cooling and balancing.
Yeah.
So if someone comes in and they're kind of revved up and they're reading stuff that just keeps them bouncing in the revved up game, and they can't get out of it. I mean, some of us can get revved up. Okay, fine. I'm revved up for 10 minutes and I'm done. Well, life in the big city. But if we want to do it, then we have to help them say, listen, I'd like you to read something else. Or just don't read that. Don't do that. Whatever it is, just don't do that. I don't know what else.
Pour gasoline on the fire.
Don't keep feeding that baby and blowing air on it. Air, if you really study a fireplace and building fires, that's where you learn about fire and air, right? Earth, fire, and air. You need to have good airflow to build a fire. Well, airflow is the flow of ideas. It's the nervous system. It's that flow of things. So the more flow there is going through the fire, burn the building down. So all these ideas of energies and things, it's different from homeopathy. Although even in homeopathy...
But it works together.
I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just simply saying, even in homeopathy, there's a book on the tridosha theory in homeopathy. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff in my day. So, I mean, the guy really thought about it. And it's true. I mean, Nux is a fiery remedy, I mean, that's the remedy of irritability and fire. And it's sensitive to cold. That's the very funny thing about it. But as it may. So, it's overspiced. Nux is the overspiced and overstretched out condition.
I wonder why I just pulled that remedy out of the hat.
You did right out. You did a great job. So, as we talk about this stuff in health, one of the other things is a decision to be willing to pay attention.
I mean, that's the start of it, right? Before you do anything, you'll hear from every single practitioner is observation, curiosity, observe, like what is happening for you in those moments of discomfort or whatever you're encountering in your day, like what's happening for you in your body, what's happening for you in your mind,
right?
Presence.
And be willing, if you're comfortable, marital couples aren't always the best ones to do this with, but finding somebody who you're willing to know doesn't have any skin in the game.
Yeah, objectively.
Objectively tough to do. But if you can find somebody who you trust and know they have their hearts in the right place and they can present things in a calm envelope so that little message, that purity of that message can get through, then you can say, can you help me? What are you seeing? And if they're reasonable and they're trained and comfortable, they can say, well, this is what I'm seeing. And that there's many ways to, or a book. You read a book. If you can't read a book because it stirs something up, well, that should tell you this may be the book you should be reading, but in teensy-weensy little amounts. And then process it and think about it. Because the transformation, it takes time.
Yeah.
And we talk about that within the Jewish traditions, of course, about how do we take our animal natures and take that energy
and transform it
and move it into a positive way. We don't want to suppress the energy. We just simply want to take it rather than blowing people up. Maybe we can give more tzedakah or whatever, how it works.
Yeah.
But it's paying attention. And so the practices that we do facilitate us in doing that. Now, with your children, with other adults, and with yourself, that there's a rate of maturity of the brain and of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to facilitate not being swept away by, we'll call them more primitive, whatever, animal, whatever, we really have to work at it.
Yeah. It really is a lifelong progression.
I'll tell you a great story, which I have shared at other times, but I think it's worthwhile. So it's a great example. So before I went to the Institute I went up there for a month to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I was there and I was meditating and learning and doing yoga. And I had to drive back for 3 days. And I was doing my mantra on the way back. And I got back. And I didn't have a place to live, so I stayed at my parents. And may their souls be in heaven as high as they can be. But there were some issues with the dynamics of my family, mostly to my father with me. And I think rage was a reasonable word I could have used to where I might get to with him. And so we were at dinner, and he started. And I felt it inside.
Building.
So I made an internal decision because I've been doing this meditation and breathing for weeks now. I wasn't going to give in. So he's sitting right across from me, the dining room table. I grabbed the bottom of the chair like this. I just stayed staring at him. All I did is focused on my breathing. Now, the rage came anyway. But because I didn't let it grab me, it just went through.
Wow.
And I went, This is all inside, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at him going, and he's still doing his thing, firing his bullets at me. And there was little seizures of rage. But as I now had that internal observer watching, and I was quiet now. Before it was just all yellow red.
Right.
Now I could see this little volcano, symbolic, if I could say, down in the right side of the corner of my vision inside. I could see it. And it got less and less and less. Remember, I'm looking right at him. And all of a sudden, inside, I said, I'm just going to move from here, the volcano, over here. The volcano's not over here. As soon as I did that, it was like this. And the persona that my father was and what he was doing to make me dance with him like this came out here. And I saw behind it this person who wasn't anything like this. In fact, was quite small. And he saw me see him. He just stopped. Now, I use this as an example. The next day, I nearly killed him. But that's whatever, you know what I mean?
That's irrelevant.
That's another story. But the point is, at that moment, I got through it. Now, when we go, people try to understand. So, well, let me tell you what. Let me kind of tell you. If you go to the beach and you play in the waves, and there's big waves. Have you ever done that? You ever gone and played in big waves?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Now, big waves coming your way. What do you do to not get smacked around and tossed around by the wave? What's your methodology?
Well, to duck under.
You duck under it. You go down under it.
Yeah.
What's it like down?
I try.
What's all right? What's it like down under it?
It's much calmer.
It's quiet. It's a little bit of, but above, it's just wave goes over.
Yeah,
right?
crashing. Yeah.
That's the deal.
Yeah.
That's the exact way in which it works. If you can go down under it, you don't stop the wave. It will just pass. Underneath, it's just quiet.
Tranquil.
Right. Relatively tranquil.
Yeah.
But it takes work and commitment to decide that I don't care what else happens, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And the best I can do is breathe in and out. It works.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's so hard, especially when it's like a family member, but even like when you're trying to ride the wave of your children's outburst or struggles. And I think it's a perfect example of what you said. Like, if you can just decide that whatever is going to happen, you're not going to get into a shouting match, or you're not going to
dance that dance.
You're not going to dance the dance, right? And you just breathe through it. I always say at the end of the day, you feel so much better, because when you get into that dance, it feels horrible after. It feels horrible. And I always try to use that. I'm like, it's really hard right now, but I will be so much happier after if I can stay true to my values, or true to how I want to be showing up in this moment.
Right.
But boy, it gets us sometimes.
It does. So that's why we have to pay attention to how we eat. This goes back to lifestyle habits.
Yeah.
If I've been drinking a bunch of coffee, eating a bunch of potato chips, not getting enough sleep,
all bets are off.
All bets are off. You can still do it, but boy,
much harder.
It's lots harder. In yoga science, they talk about sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic diets. Rajasic is fire, raja. Tamasic is heavy, and sattvic is the balanced. The idea is to eat a sattvic diet, especially if you have a tendency to rajas in your own system.
Right.
So, and do yoga and dissipate the energy and take walks and read saints and read the books. Go watch the birdies, whatever it is.
Go outside and put your feet in the grass.
That's right. Put your feet in the grass. Do some grounding. Right.
I just added a 5-minute yoga practice to my day today.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
And I'm like, I'm doing it because I have such a hard time incorporating like these things at home by myself. Like if I go to a class, but it's hard for me to be consistent with that. But I'm like, that's it. And I starting baby steps. I'm like 5 minutes yoga practice, and I'm doing it. I'm saying it out loud because I'm gonna be consistent.
I'm calling you every morning.
And by the way, 5 minutes. It's
transformative.
Transformative is the right word.
It's transformative.
It doesn't have to be an hour. It doesn't have to be.
I don't know.
So yeah. But what I remember from coming to you as a child and as an adult and as a young adult, and I remember because you're a homeopath, but as we're talking, it's so much more than that. Also, like I remember you using also like, first of all, asking the questions, which is very part of homeopathy. But I remember you talking about Bach flowers, which is a version of homeopathy, herbs, diet, right? All these things were part of your practice. Is that common for a homeopath, or is that just the way you did it?
Homeopathy's changed somewhat, like so many things. There are purists who believe all you need is the right remedy.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
even Hahnemann talked about, even the great homeopaths talk about
I mean,
lifestyle.
our bodies are complicated. We need a
Well,
lot
they
of
talk
things.
about contributing. They call it contributing factors. I mean, they
Yeah.
talk about it. But
Yeah.
if everybody, they're going to hang their hat on this, well, it doesn't work. So the answer is currently, it looks to me that some homeopaths who absolutely, that's what they do. They go for the remedy. And that's right on. Now, if they're having trouble, they can't get it, they're going to ask, what are the other confounding, contributing influences? If they find out you're drinking Cokes and sucking coffee and not sleeping and doing, tobacco, they're going to say, it's interfering.
Yeah.
Some learn more nutrition. And that's part of what's the Lion King, the Dance of Life, whatever. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of how it goes. So I think that like any groups of people who live by a certain creed, depending on how much they have, I don't know, how do I say this? How much they have to live or die by that creed.
Right.
Can determine how open they are to the
Right.
possibility.
Because I mean, I've learned so much about supplements from you. Supplements, we've done all sorts of testing. We've done all sorts of things because my understanding is that it's very I mean, I'm sure it could be done, but it's very difficult to just one thing. I find that we are so complex. And so it takes a lot of different, you do yoga, you eat well, you do homeopathy, you can use your Bach flowers, you do energy work. Like all of it is not contradictory to each other. It's like a supporting
And you can still get
system.
cancer and die next month.
Exactly. That's not a cool thought.
But it needs to be said
Yeah, it's
because
so
people
true.
believe if I do everything perfect, it won't happen. No. I wish that were.
That's when we have to remember that God also has a plan.
There's a plan here, right?
We can't
And
always control what happens.
that's right. And that's where the spiritual work comes in.
Yeah.
Even the Rabbanim, I forget one of the Rebbe's, Chabad Rebbe's, was doing exercise. You see, I can't remember who it was, but it was something I have to take care of my temple, right? I have to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, right, we do what we do, and we try and make the best of it while we're here to bring as least interference as we can, but remembering that what's the point of it all? The point of it all is to bring goodness into the world and be as good a person as I can be and refine my spirit. And these things are helpful.
I'm so glad that you brought us back to that because it's so important because we can really get lost in the things that we have in our control and the things that we can do and the choices that we make. And then I even have it on a smaller scale of and then I'll have like a stomach ache or a relapse and I'll be like, but I'm doing everything right. How come? Fire. And then that's where that work comes in of the spiritual work and the letting go and the practice of being a container for whatever needs to move through you.
What's the famous story about Reb Zusha where somebody asked the Vasant or somebody he wants to find out, wants to talk to somebody who, I don't know, is enlightened. So he finds the apocryphal Reb Zusha somewhere.
Yeah.
And he goes to the place and I think it's how do you live with pain? I think that was the sort of the deal, right? And he finds this guy living in a little teeny back room, dirt floors, nothing, a couple of sticks of furniture. And he's talking to him, and the guy's got, Job-like sores all over him. And the guy says, I was sent to you to learn about how to deal with pain and unhappiness. And Reb Zusha says, they sent you to me? I don't have any pain and unhappiness. Why would they send you to me?
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of obviously it's a story. But yeah, I think that I know you want to talk about vaccines. I haven't forgotten.
We are getting there, but I have one more question before we even
you're
get
the
there.
boss.
Do you think homeopathy is something that people can do at home?
Absolutely.
For themselves, or do they need
Absolutely.
a homeopathic doctor?
No, I think that there's a couple of first aid books out there. One actually was made by the Institute where I was. It's by Dennis Chernin. It's a good friend of mine, actually.
Yeah.
And look it up. Hold on 1 minuto.
We can actually can put it in the show notes if people want to.
Amazon. Let's go homeopathic first aid. By the way, you can go to Amazon. I'm looking, there's a whole bunch of books here.
But are they all created equal? How do we know if we're good?
Yeah, I'm going to try and find the one that I know. So there's a couple. There's one by Dorothy Shepherd. I want the one that we did. It's a great book. It's funny how many are out there. Let me put his name in there. Homeopathic first aid. Let me put Chernin. Books. Come on, give me the books. Interesting. They don't have the books. Yeah, I'm trying to find a book, but there's all kinds of kits. God, there's some great kits.
So I have an amazing kit, Dr. Cohen. It's from Helios.
Helios is a good company.
Yeah. And there's it's like a blue little box. It has, I think 30 remedies of like a good travel, like a first aid.
Great.
And what actually I love about that kit, it comes with a little pamphlet and has information on each remedy that's in that kit. And it has really empowered me. Like I used to call my mother, I still do, but I call her, what remedy? And sometimes she'd say, look it up. I'm like, I don't want to look it up. Or, but now I have that. It's a small book, but it's really informative and it's actually really helpful. So I really recommend the Helios little kits. They have different ones for what you're looking for.
I'm still looking. It's interesting to me that this book is not coming right up. Well, isn't that just the weirdest darn thing?
You can always message me if you find it.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. I will. I'm just surprised Amazon doesn't have it. You'd think. I guess not. I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah. I don't know what happened. I'll have to call Dennis and find out what happened to the book.
Is a good way to start, just getting like a kit?
Absolutely. You can't hurt anybody. There's nothing in them.
Right. From what I understand, as that if it's the wrong remedy, it's just going to move through your body and not do anything bad.
It's like if I give you a suggestion, it's the wrong suggestion. You go,
okay, you just dismiss it. Like, oh, whatever.
Doesn't resonate.
So that's what I love about remedies, because there's very little there's no fallout for trying something and getting it wrong.
Correct.
So you can just feel safe to just try it out a little bit.
Unless you're Jewish, then your nose falls off.
That's always a possibility.
That's always a possibility.
Always a possibility. Okay, I did want to get to vaccines because I know that it's a very difficult topic to navigate for many people. Talk about fire, right? There's very fiery opinions on both points of view and sides and opinions. My goal here to discuss, first of all, I like to talk about things that are maybe challenging, and I like to talk about the hard things, but talk about them in a way that is safe and not scary. And it's okay, like you said before, right? Like it's okay to expose yourself to ideas that you don't agree with or you don't have to agree with, but it's okay to hear something different and open your mind and think about it. We don't have to be so like quick to dismiss another thought. So I would just like to hear your perspective. And like I said, this is your perspective. You want to hear a different perspective? It's out there. But I get to talk to you about your perspective, and I want to hear your perspective on vaccines and how you saw vaccines 40 years ago, and has it changed? Have you evolved and changed your opinion in certain ways? And yeah, I just want to hear it.
Yeah. So I'll start off with a story.
Okay. We love stories.
So I guess it must have been early 90s, 1990s. I was part of a practice in Austin. I drove to Austin twice a month.
I remember that, actually.
And so there was a anti-vaccine group, and they wanted me to come talk. And I got up there, and I said, so before I say anything, I want to ask you all an important question. Your kid's out in the field, and he steps on a nail sticking out through a cow patty that's full of rust, and it goes into his foot. Are you going to get a tetanus shot? Of course they are. To a person.
Yeah.
I only bring that story up because I think that there are some of these vaccines that really have done an incredible job. Diphtheria. I've seen diphtheria. It was probably diphtheria. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably diphtheria. I was on a reservation. We saw
Lots of things.
lots of things people don't see usually: tuberculosis, diphtheria. Anyway, so here's what I would say: we give them too early, partially for convenience, especially hepatitis. That's bullshit. That's does not have to happen when they're newborn.
Yeah.
That's for sure. We give too many at once. Now, certainly, so that's number one. I do think they have a place. I do think they can be valuable for large groups of people. There are some for whom the teensy bits of mercury get in their mitochondria and mess it up.
Yeah.
They have problems. Man.
How do you know if you?
That's right. So
you're
there's
that
some genetic,
person?
there's some work being done, but the point is, it happens.
Yeah.
I've seen young boys who were talking, and all of a sudden they got the MMR. They stopped talking. They're fine.
I've experienced such an extreme. My son experienced a very extreme MMR reaction.
Right. So you don't always know. That's number one.
Yeah.
So I'm for them, but I'm also recognizing we got issues, and we can't ignore those and negate the responsibility to the industry about that. And we give them too many. I mean, given a 2-month-old a slug of different ones, firstly, I don't think they should get anything until they're eaten off the floor. When they're eaten off the floor, their immune system in their gut, there's been enough stuff that it's got identity, it's got its barriers in place, it's got its immune system that's educated.
Yeah.
You know, all right, give it a shot.
Do you think like we've kind of gone to the place where we're like the chickenpox vaccine? We all got chickenpox and we were fine. Like why? Like
chickenpox. I'm less sanguine about chickenpox. Take Haemophilus influenza. I mean, the rate of meningitis dramatically decreased with immunization. I mean, that crossed all socioeconomic bounds.
Yeah.
I mean, meningitis. I mean, we know. Now, do we make a trade-off with all this? If you talk to veterinarian homeopaths, the dogs get rabies vaccines every year. They don't need them. But so over time, over generations, you get problems like hip dysplasias and all kinds of stuff because they just keep whacking them.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're no problems. That's why I say we should wait and do it. But we're not a patient society, and everything has to be happening, quickly. And now, well, we have you, and all that sort of stuff. And then there's some of them that come earlier. I mean, they decided MMR didn't have to be given when you're 6 months old. They waited until they're 15 or 18 months. Well, yes. Haemophilus influenza, kids get ear infections, they get meningitis. It's kind of maybe. Tetanus, probably not that early. Diphtheria, probably not that early. I mean, depends where you live. Yeah. I mean, if you're in an area where diphtheria is endemic, well, maybe you might want to get a vaccine. I mean,
right. I that's what I think also.
I mean, you got to look at what's around you and say, I'd like to have a little protection, please. Get my system kind of ready,
Right. Like if you're living in Africa, like you're going to need certain protections over if you're, I guess how I feel is I struggle with the black and white, one size fits all narrative because I'm like you, I do agree that there are a place for vaccines, but I also, and listen, I'm much younger than you and not as wise and mature, but I also think that, we went a little crazy.
I think because it's hard for us to appreciate what it was like with people
with
pandemic. Way back.
Yeah.
Smallpox. Yeah. I mean, the story of smallpox vaccine is a great story. Also, a Jewish doctor who figured this out, by the way. No, that was Jenner, but I think it was another one. Maybe it was typhoid fever or something. I forget. It was a Jewish guy who was in Africa or something. But anyway, it doesn't matter. People were dying of all kinds of things. Now, some of it was people lived in crap. They didn't have sewers. They had crap.
It was hygiene.
Hygiene was a big issue. Nutrition was a big issue. But people died from things. Then they discovered this ability to trigger an immune strengthening So I think smallpox might have been one of the first ones, actually. And they said, well, if you only have a hammer, what you're going to use? You're going to put a hammer on everything, right? So,
Right.
yeah. And it's
It's kind of like that pickle, that jar story you told before,
right,
right?
right,
Like
right,
we're using a hammer to everything.
right, right, right. So I think that, and like I said, I'm all about them. I just think how we do it and when we do it, and have we gone too far? I don't know. I mean, I think it all came to the fore with COVID, right? I mean, that's where it really kind of the stuff hit the wall.
But when we were growing up,
Yes.
were you as for them as, or were you more?
No, I didn't want. I fought with my doctor. What was it? I mean, I knew the doctor. Our family doctor knew. She and I had long conversations
Right.
because
Right.
I was the holistic doctor of San Antonio at that time.
Right.
And I talked about strep and treating stuff, whatever. And I didn't mind. Dara got her first one at, I think, 8 or 9 months, and she had a big reaction. And I said, we're not doing it anymore until she's at least 3 or 4 years old. We're done.
Yes.
We're done.
Yeah.
And for Shannon, we didn't do any to start with. And
Yeah.
then they started them and, blah, blah, blah. But they were already older.
Yeah.
They didn't seem to have any problems with it, thank God. So I'm trying to get to the answer of, am I for them more now or not? Oh, I'm not more for them now. I think we should wait.
Yeah. So age really matters.
I think the state of our immune system matters.
Yeah. Is there a time where you would recommend somebody not getting a vaccine?
If they already have some kind of strange autoimmune, if they've never had any,
Yeah.
and they get some strange phenomenon, disorder, autoimmune, or whatever, one has to think about what we're doing. I think tetanus is universal. As far as I'm concerned, everybody should get tetanus shot. Probably diphtheria, probably TD. Probably, I think is real important. Seems like polio is too, but the shots have come back rather than the oral. Chickenpox, Hepatitis, yeah, when you're 16, maybe, or 14, you decide you want to start shooting up drugs, maybe it's okay to get a hepatitis shot.
Right.
Women, the whole question of the HPV vaccine, I haven't kept up with it all, but there's been some mixed data about it recently about that. I think that I still think that they can be good. We should probably continue to try and remove as much toxicity from them as we can. We should wait a while. I don't think they have to have them all at the beginning. Like I said, I think tetanus, especially when the kids start walking around and live around, tetanus is a good thing to have. Diphtheria is a good thing. They want to keep them out of the community. So look what happened with the measles thing. I mean, they stopped doing it and kids started dying. Not masses of them, but
right.
Nonetheless. So we know they do something.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much in the same position. I got the COVID, the first two. I'm not doing them again.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. And some people have had some problems with that.
Yeah. I do know that. I think we get so scared of this topic and people start shutting down left and right. It's like, oh, you're either for them or against them, or you're either, and whatever side you're on, you're a villain because you're killing babies, whichever way you think. And I just really feel that we just need to be mindful. We need to think about what we're doing. We need to be intentional about how we do it and learn some stuff and be aware of when and how. Like what we were talking before, it doesn't have to be black and white. It's not an all or nothing situation. It could be fluid. You can do some at later times. I was wondering if you heard of this. I had a different homeopath tell me that you could, through homeopathy, vaccinate.
So
is that a real thing?
I'm looking there used to be a site called the Vaccine Information Website, but they've changed. Google searches have just put anything alternative way at the bottom. They don't even have them on the sheet. They used to send people to, used to be called 909 Shot or Vaccine Information Website. I'm looking at it while we're talking. So ask me a question again. I'm sorry, I was kind of lost in thought.
I've heard that you can vaccinate.
So the question,
through
do homeopathic vaccinations work? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that You pay him money, you take your chances. I guess that's how it is.
Right. Right.
And you just never know. I mean, there are people who swear by them, and great homeopaths that swear by them. There are whole protocols for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know statistically if one looks at those. The Anthroposophical Institute, for example, they don't use vaccines at all.
Right.
And for example, I was in Austin, and there was a Waldorf school outside Austin, and there was a whole epidemic of whooping cough because none of them got any kind of pertussis vaccine.
Right. But what I did get from you, and especially when my children were growing up, is that you have remedies to
There are
help
remedies that
detox,
may ameliorate potential consequences.
like the negative.
They seem to have help the body throw off the neck. Remember, everything that happens to us is because we make it happen.
Mm,
So if something gets injected and then we react to it, then the nature of that reaction, there are some remedies that seem to facilitate a decoupling of a negative consequence. So they don't always work.
right.
There are people who specialize in vaccine detoxification through homeopathy. There are protocols.
Yeah.
And I have personally used homeopathic preparations of vaccines. If it's clear to me that someone had a negative reaction of that vaccine, I will get the remedy made from that vaccine and give it to them. Like cures like, right? I'm not giving them
Right.
the vaccine. I'm giving them the vibration of the vaccine that their body's kind of stuck on and will help them. And I've
Right.
seen good things. Not always, but I've seen some good things. So I think that if one is going to make a decision to do homeopathic vaccines, that they should find a qualified homeopathic practitioner who's experienced
Right.
in
For
using
sure.
these things to do that. And not just say, I'm going to get this and I'm going to do that.
Right.
There's some things that you might want to think about. What's the
Yeah.
history of your family? What else is going on with your kids? And
Where do you live?
where are you traveling
Who
to?
are you exposed
Who
to?
are you exposed to? Right. I mean, if you're in a community that's getting a lot of people coming over from foreign countries where they have lots of illnesses, well, you may want to think about what you're doing because your
Right.
exposure there is very different than up to now here in America, where you have a
Right.
lot of herd immunity and you got vaccines everywhere and blah, blah, blah.
Right. Right.
You know, it's a difficult subject. I think vaccines do cause problems,
Yeah.
not maybe as much as we think, but maybe more than I think. I mean, I recognize I might be in
Right.
the wrong place on either end of that.
Right.
Um, and there are things you can do to kind of help ameliorate it. There are practitioners who are experts in vaccinosis, which is the name of the disease homeopathically, where you get
Right.
some negative consequences from vaccines.
Yeah. I do think there is certain people that are more sensitive than others, and it's really hard to know before,
A priori, yeah, you don't always know.
prior to actually trying
Well,
it.
and getting back to just something,
Yeah.
which I wouldn't hang my hat on, but I think is valid.
Yeah.
It's intuition.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I mean, if you get a message that these vaccines, I mean, not an emotional message or a cult message that vaccines are not okay for your kid, you might want to listen to that.
100%. And it goes back to what we're talking about, right? When you allow yourself to be like aware and observe, and then you could get a gut feeling. You could get these, I don't know what's the right word for it, not a premonition, but like
A
an
sense,
energy,
something.
a sense of like what is right for your child. And I think we oftentimes ignore it and don't trust it. And I think if we've learned anything, especially from our conversation, is those are really valuable.
Yeah,
I've found those to be really valuable. And if you're in tune, then doesn't mean it's the be all end all, but it's worth exploring and listening to when you have those feelings.
absolutely. And again, unless there's an epidemic
Right.
or you're traveling to a country in which it's endemic, which means it's alive and real
Common.
in that
Yeah.
community and it's around, I don't think it's an emergency. I think there's been a problem in the pediatric community where they have
Yeah.
dismissed people from their practices because they won't do the vaccines.
Right.
I think that's wrong. I understand. I'm laughing because I had old computers and the guy dismissed me from his practice. I wouldn't get new computers. It took too much energy, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I've been
yeah,
thrown out of practices my life. But,
yeah.
but you can wait, you know. I think breastfeeding is very important. I think that we get a lot of immunological support to the infant system, to the mother's breast milk. And the mother can do things to help her boost her health, and taking colostrum and do all kinds of things to facilitate those. I mean, there's a lot of other
A lot of
ancillary
things
things that
to
you can
do.
read about
Yeah.
to protect and promote the health of a small infant.
Right.
Right.
The thing that I read, there was like a meme going around and it was just like the CDC or whoever is in whatever organization is in charge of like, don't feed your child more than one food at a time, but then stick them with 6 vaccines at a time, right? Like that makes no sense. Only sweet potato, only carrots at times to know how their body's going to react to the food. But meanwhile, you take them at 2 months and they're getting 6 vaccines.
At
Like
least
that is cognitive dissonance. Like
100%.
that
100%.
doesn't make sense.
100%.
And that's kind of where I have a problem. It's like
I agree with you. I couldn't
that
agree
makes no
more.
sense.
I couldn't agree
Okay,
more.
one last question.
Sure, go for it.
Well, I don't know if it's because we're talking about our bodies create the reactions to things, right? Our bodies or our whatever. We're creating our narrative, our reality. If a remedy or if homeopathy isn't working or isn't landing, what does that mean? Does it mean that we're just blocked and there's work to be done there? Or have you seen situations where homeopathy just wasn't getting through and it was kind of a head scratcher? Or I guess, does my question make sense? Like,
So I'm just thinking about the answer.
yeah.
The real answer is this is because me as a homeopath, I'm not smart enough and don't know the remedies well enough and don't see well enough. So that's the first place to think about.
Okay.
There are intervening forces that may be pushing the system in a place, and you may not know it.
Right.
So, for example, heavy metals or mold or something else. Right? So there are known in homeopathy, you talk about interfering substances or situations. Somebody's getting abused, physically abused, or whatever abuse, sexual, physical, whatever, emotional. Well, that's something that their system is so, they can't even release it because if you get the remedy, they can't let it out because if they let it out, they get in bigger trouble. So,
It's not safe. Yeah.
you can't do it, right? So the answer to your question is a combination of practitioner knowledge and situation, the status of contributing and intervening factors. So yes, so the bottom line is yes, the right remedy can be blocked, even if you get perfect stuff.
Right. Right. So to come away from this conversation, like what's the most impactful, in your opinion, the most impactful thing to do to impact your sense of balance and flow? If you want to be a person that's healthy, in balance, and in flow, what's the first step that you would take?
Are you a mother or not a mother?
Okay, let's do for both. Let's start with mother and then
You
do not
understand
mother.
that mothers have a much bigger
I
kind
get
of
it. I get it.
set
Yeah.
of things to deal with than us guys. We can just go play with the computer while you all are taking care of the family. So kind of thing. I think begin the process of asking the questions. It's just something I can learn.
Yeah.
Just
I love that. Is there something I can
can
learn?
learn, and let your intuition guide you. It's like going through the library and go, "Oh, I want that book." Now, why? What part of you picked that book? Right? Part of you picked that book. Well, there was a reason that part of you picked that book. Maybe you had no reason to pick that book from the cognitive point, but inside something said you should be pulling that book and think just to read the inside jacket. Maybe that's enough. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think the first place is that I think nutrition absolutely is like
Baseline, right? That's baseline.
baseline, and nutrition. It's very hard financially, social, culturally to get people to eat differently.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were vegetarians, right, for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kayla, my ex-wife and the mother of our children, wanted to eat meat, so fine. But in the house, we didn't. But she went out. So the kids started to eat meat and all that sort of stuff, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But Shannon wouldn't eat any vegetables. You know, it had to be white and red, potatoes and ketchup. And if somewhere in there might have been one little green broccoli, but that was it. You know what I mean? But he would take spinach soup and guzzle the stuff down. So it's hard. And there's cultural issues. And there's male-female dynamic, mother-in-law, mother. I mean, there's any one of a numerous number.
Accessibility or whatever.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, if you go to some places in the city, they don't even, you go to the stores around, they don't even provide good food to that community. It's horrible what gets done. It's really disgusting. Yeah. So there's a lot, and good food can be expensive. Try shopping at Whole Foods versus the tienda down the street, right?
Right.
Or look at the vegetables. I was in Israel, and I was in it's not scale area, it's Baka in Yerushalayim, but across the street from where we were staying, I could show you, it's into the video, just a lush, just incredible vegetables and fruits, just ridiculous. Maybe a mile away, it was a supermarket. And the vegetables looked horrible compared to what was right across the street. So here in Israel, where every fresh vegetable's 2 to 4 hours away growing, right? You can have at one store have crappy stuff, and one stuff have just, you know, oh my God, it's just like colors and richness and abundance and, you know, blah, 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 and variety. So there's a lot of that. So I think that the first place to start is just begin to, when people come to me, I say, do the best you can to eat food in the form that God made it.
Right. I was going to ask you like a nutrition little nugget.
That's it.
Yeah.
Eat it in the form that God made it. If somebody else did something to it, you're a step or 20 steps away from it being anything. So, and you got to work towards it, but that's also labor intensive.
Yeah.
You know what it is to make stuff from fresh food. It's, you know, it's just easier to get rice-a-roni and throw that in there, or burger helper, or, you know, Rice Krispies and, you know, chocolate milk or whatever. And the kids. And the kids, it's hard. Getting kids to eat. I mean, I witnessed my own grandchildren. I mean, one of them, you know, if it's not a carb, it doesn't get into their body, you know. And I mean, it's horrible. And the parents know what to do, but they won't eat. So they've been working around. And she's getting a little bit older, too. And they're finding some stuff.
It's hard. It's hard. It really is hard.
So when we talk about this, I want people to know, should they happen to hear this part, you do the best you can, but start thinking about it and don't get upset, self-critical, throw guilt trips, rant and rave, because you're tapping into, just like that discussion about the rabbi and believing that God didn't speak at Mount Sinai. We build our life and what's real and our identity on what we know and what we get. And if we start working with that, we're rooting at the fabric of, what do my friends eat?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I go to school and I've got broccoli and they've got Cheetos. I mean, you know, what do you do?
Yeah.
So be kind, take steps, work with your diet. That's, I think, the most important thing.
I love it. Okay, and I lied. I have one more question. This is more of a personal one, and then we're going to wrap up. Knowing me since I was 3 years old, I guess it's an interest. I'm trying to figure out how to ask the question, but do you see the little me in the me now? Am I like where I am, what I'm doing, who I am? Does it make sense at watching me grow up? Because not many people know me since I was that young.
I think 3 is a little early to ask about it.
Well, okay, obviously it doesn't have to be 3, but as a child.
Right. But I'm going to work my way toward an answer.
Yeah.
I think that you are exactly where you're meant to be, doing exactly what you're meant to do.
Good answer.
Now, did the fire that you have play out with one of your parents more than one of the other parents? The answer is yes. That was clearly the case, right? So that part was there. But I have to say, Javi, that you have blossomed in ways that I could not have predicted. Not that they weren't there. I wasn't around. I was around you for Shabbos, or you were visiting.
Yeah. I was away in school.
Way in school, whatever,
yeah.
This sweet, wonderful heart that you have, absolutely, that was there from the very beginning. The way in which you've channeled that fire that you have.
I grew up a little, I matured a little.
Well, of course. And you've taken on stuff, I would go, oh my God, I can't believe what she's doing. But yeah, I just think that you have really and continue to bring forth tremendous stuff. Tremendous stuff. And could I have said that you were going to do that when you were 8? No. I couldn't. Yeah. Even 14, I don't think I could have done that because you were at school. I didn't see you, whatever, the whole.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
I couldn't have predicted the life that I was going to have in a million years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that who you're with as a life partner has a lot to do with that. You chose well.
I agree.
as did he. So I think I first saw you at the wedding, actually. That's when I first saw you. And I can tell you, even the picture was you were on top and you were doing something like this, and I saw it in your face. I saw it. I went, oh, that's somebody I didn't know was there like that. So, and it's hard to, sometimes it's just peak,
Yeah.
But yeah, you're doing, I'll tell you, my, as you know, the most famous, what the most famous story of you is?
I don't know. Remind me.
The airplane, the people on the plane, and you brought them meals.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I thought you were talking about as a kid. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
yes, the LL story.
That is a hobby story. I'll tell you what, right there. Just incredible. That's an incredible story. So I know, you'd like to know, are you, like I said, you're doing the best you can. And you're doing great stuff, and it doesn't matter what you were, it's what you are now.
I like it. It's always fun to talk to somebody who, because I have so many people in my life that know me as an adult. And that's all they've known me as, right? And it's fun to talk to somebody who's seen me as a kid misbehave, give my parents heartache, do all the stuff.
That's all that stuff, you know what I mean? It's like Rockla, the famous Sarah Rockla. She was about, I don't know, 15 months or something old, and I went to look in her ear on your mother's bed in their bedroom. She didn't speak to me until she was almost 4 years old after that. And we talk about it. We still have fun talking about it. You just never know, right? But I think that, and this picture gets shown a lot, is the picture of you and Darren, a cute little picture of the two.
Oh my God, we are so cute.
That picture of the two of you.
Yeah. And we still, it's amazing. We still have such a connection. And
it's a great connection. Love you.
It's so amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Lovely. And I loved our conversation.
Did I do good? Did I do okay?
You did great. You did great. So I was really excited to record this episode, and I really hope you learned a lot and have perspective on things that you've been trying to figure out. I think Dr. Cohen was such a great person to have on the podcast because, first of all, he's just so fun, and he's part of my childhood, which is really fun to share. And he knows me since I was 3 years old. So very few people can say that. And I just love the way that he took us through a lot of these processes. One of my favorite parts of the conversation is talking about, well, how did we move away from the mind and the body being connected? Because originally that was a given, right? And I love understanding, how did that happen? How did Western medicine make that line to divide the mind and the body. It just gives us so much understanding and knowledge. I'm a believer that knowledge is power. I like to know how things work and why we are where we are and why we make the choices that we make. And it doesn't mean we have to act in an extreme way. It doesn't mean we have to like throw our lives away and like reimagine and reconfigure everything, because that's overwhelming and not practical. But I do think there are so many benefits to just being more in tune with our body and our mind and the way that they're connected, and just having information and having the tools to make the right decisions for your family. We touched upon vaccines, and it's fascinating to me that Dr. Cohen, who's a homeopath and is so committed to a more natural living, understands that there are times where vaccines are very positive, and yet also the way that we're going about them could be very problematic. Just giving so many vaccines to our young children at such a young age, like problematic, right? So you have, the more you know, the more you can take power in your health and your family's health. Very rarely is anything black and white. And I know some of these conversations can be really difficult or triggering. And I just am here to say that we can have these conversations. And even if they're a little triggering, take a deep breath, sit through it, hear somebody out on either side of something that you are curious about. And it's really funny because I actually find myself feeling more extreme about vaccines than Dr. Cohen. Like I struggle with vaccines, and it was actually good for me to hear that there are a time and a place for them, and they have served a purpose. And also, like, I feel like it's good to hear that, listen, just because your pediatrician is pushing them doesn't mean that you don't have any say or any knowledge, or you can't be informed and make some decisions for your family. And I think it's so important to not let the world's noise or doing something because it should or shouldn't be a certain way. I really believe that getting to your center and really being in tune with your, like, I hate to say your truth, that's so Gen Z of me, but it's important to like understand like the right choices for your family, and that might look strange to other people, and you might be judged for it. And guess what? That's okay. We're all judging anyway. So you might as well do what's right for you. So that's just some of my thoughts on the podcast. And just, I had so much fun. Dr. Cohen is like a storyteller par excellence. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did in the moment. And what else? It was a hard week for Chavie Brook. Let me just say, I kept joking, like there was definitely something in the stars for me. Definitely felt very like kind of everything coming together. Like everything was hard. When you have like something hard in like one area of your life, but like the other areas are like running smoothly. Like this week was just like, woo, let's just do it all. Navigating kids in camp and navigating kids at home, and even like stuff around the podcast, back end, behind the scenes, like so much goes on behind the scenes just to produce these podcasts that it's just amazing when the finished product goes out into the world and everybody is listening and you hope enjoying, and you get yours. It's the best feeling. And sometimes to get the episode out and there's hiccups and there's things that set you off course, but we are staying the course. I love every second of this podcast. So it makes the challenges all worth it. But there's so much time and there's so much logistics that go into just producing one episode. And so this week I had a guest that I recorded a little while ago. We had to not launch the episode as planned when it was expected to be launched or to be aired, whatever the right word is. And there's a lot of considerations that go into it, and it's okay. And it needed to happen this way, but it did definitely like stress me out, but I'm okay. We're all here. We're all good. And it just was just another part to the week that was hard. And I actually, if you read my Substack, which you should subscribe to because then it goes into your inbox, and maybe I'll have Ellie, shout out to Ellie, my producer, put this week's article in the show notes because it's very apropos to what we are talking about. And I was in the moment writing. And sometimes, you write about an experience that happened or you're on the other side of something and you write about it and it's great. And there's that type of essay. And then there's the times where you write when you're in the thick of it, in the thick of the struggle. And that was this week. I wrote from the place of struggle and from the place of just having a hard time. And I call the article walking through the fire of life. And that's what it feels like. Life is a fire. Sometimes it's a big bonfire and sometimes it's a little match. But I think as humans, we're always navigating something, and walking through that is brave and is bold and is hard. And then on the other side, what happens when we walk through that fire? What happens to our capacity? What happens to who we are? All those things are molded and shifted and get shaped. And it was one of those weeks, a very capacity pushing week. And it was funny. I was thinking about even the small things, when the big things are the existential crises that you're having, oh my gosh, how am I parenting? And just the big stuff you don't even necessarily have answers or solutions to that are happening. And then at the same time, you have these small things that are just shouldn't be a big deal, but because the big things are a big deal, the small things become a big deal. And I just, on Friday, or Thursday, I was going to make challah, and I put bread flour on the shopping list. And my husband, who does the shopping, God bless him, he's excellent at it, and I'm grateful for it. He bought me a 10-pound bag of flour instead of a 5-pound bag of flour. Okay, really not a big deal, but I make a batch of challah with a 5-pound bag of flour, and I like to just dump the flour in so I don't have to measure and I don't have to think about it. And it just is streamlined, and that's how I do it. And so when he bought me the 10-pound bag of flour, I was like, oh my gosh, now I have to figure out how many cups is 5 pounds. And it's between 17 and 22 cups or whatever. And then I have to measure it, and it becomes a whole thing. And I was so annoyed by this 10-pound bag of flour. And I'm laughing at myself because it's so ridiculous. And then, so my husband was like, okay, it's okay. I will get you a 5-pound bag of flour. So he gets me a 5-pound bag of flour. Can you believe it? What a hero. He gets me a 5-pound bag of flour. I make the challah dough, and it's mixing in my Bosch mixture that I have from when I was married. It's 20 years old, and I have to hold it down for it to mix, or else it flies everywhere. But I will not get rid of it because I love it, and it still works. And I promise you I'll get a new one, and that thing will break in 2 years, and this thing's been going for 20. So I'm mixing the challah, it's done mixing, and I'm feeling it, and it's really it's tough. I'm why does this dough not feel so soft and fluffy? I'm oh shoot, I forgot the eggs. And if you make challah, once the dough is a dough, it creates a barrier, and it's really hard to mix anything else into it. But I'm I am not making this challah again, especially because my husband went to get me a special 5-pound bag of flour, and now he's I guess it's good you have another 10-pound bag of flour because you're gonna have to make the challah again. And I'm the last thing I wanted to do was make this dough again. So here I am, going to outsmart the system. I'm I'm going to get the eggs to mix in the dough. So I put the eggs in, and it's spinning around, and it's just basically the dough hook, and the dough is just spinning around the eggs, and the liquid is just not absorbing. It's not going anywhere. It's making a huge mess. Things are flying, and I'm getting more and more frustrated by the second. And I'm don't talk to me. This is a crisis of epic proportions, and I'm not doing well, but I'm still determined. I'm I am not making another batch of challah. So I take out the dough, and I'm I'm going to knead it by hand. And it took me 40 minutes And I needed that dough, and I got the eggs absorbed into that dough by hook or by crook, and I did it. And I don't know if it was worth it. Like, I should have just made another batch of dough. But there's this other aspect of all these ingredients just going in the garbage. Like, I just couldn't bring myself to do that. So I need the dough. And you know what? The challah was delicious. At the end of the day, the challah was delicious. So at least for that, at least after all that time and energy, the challah was delicious. Why am I telling you this nothing story that is really just an anecdote from my week? It's just like something that I had in my mind and just sticks with me. It is an illustration of when the little things are hard. I wrote in the article, in the essay, please, Hashem, can you just make something easy? Why does everything have to be hard? From like making the challah dough to sending kids to camp, to navigating the kids at home, to navigating the podcast, to just like everything. Like, can something just go right? That's like the kind of week I had. Like, can just something go right? But I'm here to say that some of that energy definitely spilled over to this week, but I think we're on the other side. I think like we did reach a little bit of a rock bottom, and we're going up from here. We're going up from here. So anyone who responded to the question box I put on the essay, I really appreciate it. I love the engagement. I love when you tell me how you feel about what I write. And I do feel like it's part of, I know it sounds a little conceited to say, but I don't mean it in that way. Just like, I kind of feel like this is one of the reasons why I'm here in this world, is to share my experiences so you can be fully present in yours. And I'm more and more leaning into that. And I actually got my human design chart done. It's just a drop in the bucket because there's still so much more to understand. But it's very much a part of my design to share in real time my experiences. So I'm really trying to lean into that, because I've always done it, but sometimes I always feel weird about it. And I'm like, why am I doing this? And it's so weird. Like, why do I have to share? So I'm starting to like really just lean into the fact that I think this is what I'm supposed to do, and take all that fear and shame around it away. And by the way, I have an episode coming out soon about human design. And I'm so excited for it because I love this stuff. And I think it'll be fun to hear what it actually is and how can it impact your life. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be in a little while. But I do like the feedback that I get really does bring that point home. I've had many people share with me and tell me that because they can hear and read my experience, it helps them validate and be present in their experience and not feel shame around what they're feeling. So just a couple of little sweet messages that came in on the question box, just to bring home that point. So somebody wrote, "This is me now. I hope it won't take too long till the flames calm." I hope so. I hope so. I think it's like a wave, right? Like we just go in and out of the fire. And wow, it's exactly what I needed to hear. Loved and felt this deeply. Got me emotional. I'm burning in the fire now. Yeah, I mean, we're in it. And someone wrote, "The flames transform us." I like that. We'll try to remember as I walk through the fire. Yeah, sometimes it's good to remember that in the fire, like we are getting transformed, and to kind of hold on to that. It gives us a little lifeline. And I got many more messages in my direct messages of just people sharing their experience in the fire right now. So if this is you and you're in the fire, just know that I think it's really part of the human experience. I don't think we go through life without being in the fire at some point, and nothing lasts forever. That's what I try to tell myself. Like it feels that way in the moment. It feels like, oh my gosh, this is never going to end, but nothing lasts forever. And God willing, you come out the other end and you are wiser, stronger, and life gets amazing. Life gets amazing after. That's what I'm going to say. Anyway, thanks for being here. I love you all. See you next time. Okay, so this podcast does not happen by itself. The magic takes a whole group of amazing people, and I want to tell you who those people are. So obviously I'm your host, Chavie. Our producer and creative director is Eli Ben-Chion. He keeps me on my toes. He makes sure that I just keep growing and am on point and don't miss a beat. He's the best. Audio is edited and mixed by Reed Seeley. Also, unbelievable. He's so cool, calm, and collected. You kind of need that working with me. And the music, which is beautiful, is by Basia Schechter and Shaul Magid. And this is Totally Unexpected.